give you a couple disclaimers. I am not a doctor. I am also not a psychiatrist. Doctors are also not psychiatrists. The same way that I have told you that traditional doctors, MDs, are not nutritionists. Stop treating them like nutritionists and getting nutrition advice from them. Stop treating them like psychiatrists and getting psychiatric advice from them. Do not do that, okay? I wouldn't do it. I don't think that you should do it. Now, I also want to say, this video is not to be taken as medical advice. I am not giving you medical advice because I am not a doctor. These are strictly my opinions based on the research I have done, and I will share with you here tonight. I will give you all the facts as I have researched them, as I have discovered them. I am not recommending that anyone discontinue use of prescribed medications. If you choose to do that, you do it at your own risk. And I highly recommend consulting with a trained professional and getting proper health and wellness team. Get a team in place. My suggestion is find a functional medicine doctor, use their in-house team, and discuss these things with them, okay? Don't just listen to Justin on the internet, run out, quit your medication cold turkey. I'm not telling you to do that, okay? Guys, let's jump into more reasons how this happened. We're gonna jump into the marketing side of things. We're gonna talk about our old pals, Big Pharma. I'm gonna talk about politicians. Everybody loves a good politician, right? Let's talk about that. A long time ago, the government decided to allow pharmaceutical companies to do something called direct-to-consumer advertising, DTCA. DTCA. This is direct-to-consumer advertising. What does that mean for you? It means that back in the 90s, you started seeing television commercials for pharmaceutical drugs. You started hearing radio commercials for some pharmaceutical drugs. You started seeing billboard ads. Everybody liked to laugh about these beautiful commercials walking around sunshine and rainbows, and then it ends like, may cause anal bleeding and death, and you might murder your entire family and then jump off of a bridge. No big deal, right? No big deal. It's ridiculous. All the side effects. They'd say the side effects really, really quick, right? Those are all called direct-to-consumer advertising. The government allowed this to happen, and like I said, from 1998 to 2008, there was a 400% increase in antidepressant prescriptions. 400% increase, fourfold in just 10 years, okay? Now, like I told you, the vast majority of antidepressant prescriptions are written by family doctors. We told you that 7% of all visits end with an antidepressant prescription. Now, another thing is this is all messy, sorry, but 75%, so we look at those 7% of visits all end in an antidepressant prescription. 75% of those are written without a diagnosis. The doc basically goes, sure, cha-ching, money in the bank. That's what happens. 75%. No diagnosis whatsoever. No psychiatric evaluation, no nothing. No diagnosis. I'm just gonna give you Zoloft or whatever the hell I need to give you because you asked for it, right? That's another place that we get to. With these direct-to-consumer advertisements, people started watching television commercials and saying, I have that. It's like you go on WebMD. You snoop around WebMD long enough, you're going to be convinced that you're going to die a slow, painful death within the next 3 hours because you have all these crazy symptoms, right? So that's what happened. People watch these TV commercials, they go into the doctor's office, I'm depressed, I have every symptom from the commercial, and I need this pill. When that happens, when a patient makes a request for an antidepressant medication with zero evidence, zero diagnosis, the doctor obliges and writes the prescription 7 out of 10 times. 70% of the time, they write the prescription. Do you not think that these big pharma companies knew what they were doing when they did that? In 2008 alone, Big Pharma spent $4.8 billion on direct-to-consumer advertising for psychiatric drugs. $4.8 billion spent on advertising. If they have $4.8 billion to spend, how much money do you think they are making? Okay? This happened, again, it's the third most prescribed drug against all ages on planet Earth, right? This happened because the government, what they did with this direct-to-consumer, they let you be educated by Big Pharma. Sounds like a fantastic idea, right? Big Pharma gets to teach you about depression. Oh, you guys don't know about depression. Let me teach you. Let me teach you why you need this drug. Because I'm an expert, Mr. Marketing Company. I'm an expert. They were the ones who educated you on depression. Of course, people walk in a doctor's office saying, I have all of those symptoms. It's ridiculous. It's manipulative. It's disgusting. It is scumbag behavior. I don't like scumbags. It's not good. This is not fair. It's not your fault. It's not the people who fell for this in the 90s and the early 2000s. It's not their fault either. My mom's been on antidepressant medication for like 20-something years, right? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Now I'm going to talk about how this sneaks up on you, okay? So unfortunately, women come to me all the time, they're exercising, they're dieting, and they're not happy with their results. And the first thing they do, and some of you may have said this to me in the past, I'm not happy, what else can I do? I need to change my plan, I need to tweak this, I need different foods, I need a different exercise regimen, I need a different this, I need a that, blah, 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 right? They want to change everything instead of sticking with the plan. And a very important question that I ask some of my clients when I can kind of figure out what's going on, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of putting 2 and 2 together, right? I will ask them, are you taking any medications I should know about? Here's why. And this feeds into the story of how we got here. A couple facts. Birth control can cause thyroid dysfunction. Birth control can cause thyroid dysfunction. Thyroid medication can cause irritability, insomnia, nervousness, changes in menstrual cycles, all symptoms that put you on a fast track to getting an anti-depressant prescription. Cholesterol medications lower all hormone production, especially steroid production. Steroidal hormones such as testosterone, things like that, lowers hormone production, which can lead straight to depression and thyroid dysfunction, fast track to an antidepressant. Low hormones, some other key hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, when those are low, if you have low cortisol and, not adrenaline, low cortisol and low progesterone, this is obviously women, if you have low cortisol and low progesterone, your PMS symptoms can get incredibly bad. You can have crying fits, you can have abdominal pain, you can have irritability. Now, if you have irritability and crying fits, congratulations, you're about to get an antidepressant prescription. It's gonna happen. Another thing, sleeping pills. People take sleeping pills. It helps me sleep, Justin, I have to sleep. But what it does, it doesn't put you to sleep, it knocks you out. Sleeping pills have almost no efficacy whatsoever. It disrupts your deep sleep cycles. In your deep sleep cycles, when you disrupt those sleep cycles chronically, those hormones aren't released. So now you have hormone imbalance. Your body can't rebuild and repair itself. You wake up, what? Groggy, irritable, anxious, depressed. You're dealing with a lack of sleep and hormone imbalance. You go to the doc, boom, you got yourself an antidepressant prescription. Now, mind you, all these symptoms that you experience, whether it's lack of sleep or cortisol levels or progesterone or intense PMS or whatever it may be, these are all stress-related. These are stress-related symptoms. Now, when you're walking around stressed all the time, this can actually spike levels of cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol and adrenaline, when chronically spiked, are responsible for things like fat storage. Fat storage, and when they're too high of levels, they can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause inflammation in your brain, also known as depression, mental illness. Okay? I dropped a marker. It's crazy. So that's a little bit how this works, this crazy pharmaceutical, this vicious cycle, right? One pill leads to this symptom, leads to another pill, leads to this symptom, leads to this pill, right? So let me give you a quick scenario. I'll run you through this. Now, I don't know, this could be anybody. We'll call her Jane Smith, right? Okay, so you get a new boyfriend, you get on birth control. Feel a little crappy, a couple months later, so they test your thyroid, not knowing that your birth control can disrupt your thyroid function. Thyroid test comes back not so good, boom, you get put on a thyroid medication, not realizing that thyroid medication can cause irritability, nervousness, and increased symptoms of PMS. A couple months later, you're feeling indifferent towards life, can't really find joy, happiness, you're having really, really low lows, right? And occasionally, you tell the doc, "Doc, sometimes I cry for no reason." Boom, back to the doc, out comes an antidepressant. Before you know it, in just a couple months, you're now swallowing a pharmaceutical cocktail every day. You got your birth control, you got your thyroid medication, you got your antidepressant, right? Everything's honky-dory. You're fit as a fiddle, right? The doctor, you're cured. Just take these pills every day for the rest of your life. Right? Crazy. Now, the same cycle can be repeated, and you can swap out birth control. The lead domino, we'll call it the lead domino. You can swap the lead domino for cholesterol-lowering drugs, like Lipitor. You can swap out the lead domino for sleeping pills like Ambien. You can swap out the lead domino for a hormonal IUD. Any number of medications can cause the same vicious cycle, okay? I just want you to understand that. There is a reason why women are at a tremendously higher risk of depression and being prescribed an antidepressant than men are. Because of all these crazy things that you deal with that you put in your body. Because you're constantly trying to fight nature, right? That's the issue. Now, let's talk about the risks. This was brought up in one of the comments earlier. There's an increased risk of suicide with short-term use of antidepressants in younger patients. There is an increased risk of suicide with long-term use in older patients. Not really sure why. The younger you are, the shorter the term use of antidepressants, higher risk of suicide. In older people, the longer you're on your antidepressant, the higher risk of suicide. Now, the suicide risk is really no joke because there are stories of women who get something like postpartum depression and then they get put on an antidepressant medication. In Dr. Kelly Brogan's book, A Mind of Your Own, which I'll talk about later, there's a story about a woman who had postpartum depression and was given an antidepressant and 15 days later wrote a suicide note and was about to jump off of a bridge. She was rescued, thank God, and there are lots of stories like this. She got off, she turned her life around, she got off the antidepressant and everything, and she gave her testimony and was basically like, yeah, it really wasn't a big deal. And you're like, wait, what? What did you just say? Like, she wasn't shooken up, she wasn't upset about it, she's just like, no, it was really weird. I started taking that medication, wrote my suicide note, and was like, this is no big deal. I'm just gonna do it. Like, literally, just zero emotion. Just stone cold, right? And there are crazy stories like that because the danger lies in the indifference. You start messing with the chemicals in your brain because the doctor told you that you have a chemical imbalance. Crazy, right? It makes my head want to explode. But one of the biggest risks I see with antidepressant medication is dependency. Dependency. These drugs are incredibly difficult to get off of, okay? If you try to go cold turkey, there's a relapse that they call major depressive disorder. So you get off your antidepressant medication cold turkey, you go through something called major depressive disorder. Major depressive disorder is exactly what it sounds like, a period of intensely deep, dark depression where your risk of suicide skyrockets. Very difficult to get off. These things need to be weaned. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I wish I was a doctor, right? You've completely disrupted your body's ability to heal itself. Your doctors have literally caused the chemical imbalance that they convinced you had in the first place that you didn't actually have. Okay? Okay. Doom and gloom, hellfire and brimstone, this is how we got here, fear-mongering, whatever you want to call it, blah, blah, blah. Let's move on to what you can actually do about this, okay? The good stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. It's terrifying, which is why you need to find a professional and you need to go step by step. Don't just do it because you watched this video. I would never, ever suggest that, okay? But you need to take this very seriously. My doctor told me to do some research and let her know which one I wanted. Wow. Get a new doctor. Get a new doctor, okay? I have the Kelly Brogan book. Read it, it's fantastic. Doctor tried to prescribe me Zoloft when I went in for a cold for 2 months. Yeah, it's ridiculous. No more sugar! Hell yeah, Allison, let's do this thing. That's the best lead-in I've ever heard to this section. The most common root causes of depression.